then. The air was filled with the scent of honey-synths as 6-year-old Silver stepped out of the fairy paths, her small hand inside her mother's, and looked around the forest that was her new home. Golden rays filtered through the trees, casting dappled light on the leaves and tiny aster pearl blossoms that covered the forest floor.
Ah, there it is.
Dad pointed to the clearing up ahead.
We were a little bit off.
Not too far. We can walk the rest of the way.
Mom inhaled deeply, and Silver looked up to see her mother's eyes closed, her face lifted toward the forest canopy. The light turned her alabaster skin a pale gold and glimmered where it caught the silver strands among her white hair.
Ah, isn't it perfect here?
Dad caught Silver's eye and raised both brows in that exaggerated fashion that left her fighting a giggle. His eyes were round, and he nodded toward Mom as if to say, "What's up with her?" Silver couldn't help it. Laughter bubbled up and escaped her lips.
What?
Mom looked first at Silver, then at Dad.
I didn't say anything.
Mom rolled her eyes, but she was smiling.
You think I'm being silly again?
No, not silly.
Dad slipped an arm around Mom's shoulders.
I love that you're already so happy here. Makes it worth the backbreaking effort of moving 1,000 boxes before midday.
Oh, you mean those 1,000 boxes you moved with magic?
I moved 2 of them.
Silver tugged on Mom's hand, turning her next step into a jump.
I know. And you were amazing, Silver Girl. You're doing so well with your magic.
I unpacked one of my boxes with magic, too.
It had taken Silver all afternoon to lift her stuffed toys one by one from their box and send them traveling jerkily across the room to the bed. But she'd felt an enormous sense of accomplishment by the end of it.
Well done. That's fantastic.
Mom bent and kissed the back of Silver's hand before straightening. Then she sighed and lowered her head to Dad's shoulder as they continued walking.
I know you still think I'm imagining it, but there's something here that just feels right. As though I've finally found whatever it is I've been searching for.
What have you been searching for, Mommy?
I don't know, Bug. I just always felt like something was calling to me. I've felt it for years. My whole life, maybe.
Is something calling me, too?
No, Silver Girl, don't worry. It's just a feeling I have. But I think Storm's Drift is where we're meant to be.
She looked at Dad again.
Don't you get that feeling, too?
I don't know. We could have had illustrious careers at Bloodwood. They've had by far the most
high-profile cases in the past 5 years? I know. You keep reminding me. We spent all that time climbing the career ladder and...
And now we're throwing it all away to come to a tiny guild way out here in the middle of nowhere.
Silver thought of their new house nestled between trees instead of hidden within one by a glamour, as their previous home had been. Here, where every house was out in the open, there was even space for a garden, overgrown with tiny white flowers called baby something, and wild yellow roses that Mom had told her reflected moonlight at night. Silver loved being able to see her new home and the homes around hers, stairways and little bridges and vines creeping up walls. The middle of nowhere, she decided, was beautiful. Mom's voice turned teasing as she leaned into Dad.
You could have stayed at the Bloodwood Guild. It's only a short trip through the fairy paths, you know.
He shook his head and kissed her cheek.
Never. You know I'd follow you anywhere, even if it is to the middle of nowhere.
Look, at the end of the day, we'll still be fighting dangerous creatures and putting a stop to evil magical plots and protecting totally oblivious humans. Does it really matter where we do it?
Well, no, but I'll admit I enjoyed doing it at a guild where there's at least some prestige.
Don't pretend there's no prestige here. It's the oldest guild in existence. That'll look good on your CV.
The oldest guild ever?
Well, second oldest. The first guild ever built no longer exists.
Why?
I think there was a fire. The first guild didn't have a lot of protection on it, and it was one of those enchanted fires that couldn't be put out. Shadow fire, I think. But you know you don't have to worry, because guilds are much better protected these days.
Especially since Lord Draven and the distraction.
Silver hadn't been born yet when that happened, but her parents had explained it to her after someone at school tried to scare her with stories of guilds blowing up and guardians dying. Dad looked amused.
The destruction. And yes, guilds are even better protected now. You don't have anything to worry about, Bug.
They were almost at the clearing now, and Silver could hear laughter and shouting, and had caught several glimpses of people running back and forth.
So, it's the Blackburns we're meeting? Lennox and...
And Iris, the couple we chatted to when we came for the second interview.
Oh yes, the guy with the beard. And she was overboard friendly.
Hey, she was nice. These are the people we'll be working with for however long we end up living here. Would you prefer it if they weren't friendly?
I'm kidding.
They stopped as they reached the edge of the clearing, and the first thing Silver noticed was the enormous picnic blanket laid out on one side. Her gaze traveled across the open space and landed on the opposite end, where the trees didn't quite come together. She could see all the way to a beach that lay at the end of a path, and beyond that, white-crested waves crashing onto the shore. She took a breath of the warm, salty air before her attention was caught and held by the children racing across the clearing and the ball floating in the air between them. They were all boys, some with streaks of orange painted on their arms and cheeks, others painted blue. They knocked the airborne ball back and forth between them, sometimes with magic, sometimes with hands or feet. The ball remained blue for the first few moments Silver watched it, flying between blue-painted figures. And then the tallest boy, a dab of orange beneath each eye, jumped higher than the rest and sent a spark of magic streaking toward the ball. The magic caught it, and the ball instantly turned orange. Then it spun around and went sailing toward another orange-painted boy.
Hey, hello.
Silver blinked at the sight of the woman coming toward them.
Nelina, Rowan, so nice to see you again.
The woman stopped in front of them and wrapped Silver's mom in a hug.
Thanks, you too. And please just call me Nell.
Right. Yes, sorry. I remember you saying that. And this is Silver?
Yes, Silver. This is Iris.
Iris crouched down and grinned at Silver. Everything about her seemed warm. Chestnut hair, tanned skin, smiling eyes. Her secondary color was light brown rather than some vibrant shade of the rainbow. And even this made her seem gentler, friendlier.
It's lovely to meet you, Silver.
She didn't attempt to ruffle Silver's hair in that annoying way of some adults, and she didn't force a hug on Silver either. Silver rewarded her with a smile, deciding that she agreed with Mom. This lady was nice.
Have you ever had a toasted mallow sparkle cake pop?
Silver shook her head.
Oh my. They're possibly the most delicious thing in the whole world. Toasted marshmallow on the outside, and underneath that is a chocolate layer, and then the cake in the middle has these sparkles that just explode all over your tongue like magic. So good. They're over there on the picnic blanket if you want one.
Silver gripped Mom's hand tighter, hoping to communicate that yes, she definitely wanted a sparkly marshmallow pop thingy, but no, she didn't want to walk to the picnic blanket on her own. Fortunately, Mom was good at interpreting hand squeezes. She crossed the grass with Silver, and Iris went with them while Dad headed toward a bearded man who was standing near the edge of the clearing with his hands up in the air. Silver guessed he was busy with some kind of enchantment based on the tiny sparks of magic dancing above his head and the way his hands kept moving about.
This is such a beautiful spot.
Mom took a seat on the picnic blanket while Iris pulled a cloth off one of several baskets to reveal a plate of toasted marshmallow thingies on sticks.
Isn't it?
Iris handed one of the sticks to Silver.
It's our absolute favorite spot in the whole of Stormsdrift. We come here all the time in summer. The boys spend hours in between the river, the beach, and this clearing.
She offered Mom a cake stick, which Mom politely declined before covering the basket again.
I know you must be tired after moving in today, but I'm so glad you could join us. It's such a lovely evening for a picnic, and the boys have been looking forward to meeting Silver.
They're all yours?
Silver followed Mom's gaze to the group of boys. They had just finished tackling each other to the ground in one large, rowdy heap, and it was impossible to tell how many of them there were.
Oh, no, thank goodness. 4 belong to me. Flynn is the oldest, just had his 11th birthday.
She pointed to the first boy to detach himself from the pile of bodies and flailing limbs. Blue paint marked his face and hands.
Connor and Tobin are 9.
She pointed out 2 boys with identical features.
And Ash is our youngest.
She nodded at the boy who'd just rolled away from the group. He jumped up and sprinted away with a whoop, the ball, now blue again, in his hands.
Same age as Silver.
Oh, yes, I remember you saying that.
Mom ran her hand up and down Silver's back.
Remember I told you about Ash? You'll be in the same class as him.
Silver nodded as she took another bite of the marshmallow wonder. This time, she bit through the chocolate layer and reached the cake in the middle. Something tingly and chocolatey and utterly delicious exploded across her tongue and danced around the inside of her mouth like teeny sparks of edible magic. Silver smacked a hand over her mouth to keep from spraying cake and sparkles everywhere as she started laughing.
It's good, right?
Iris's eyes crinkled at the corners as she grinned. Silver nodded, swallowing and licking her lips.
Anyway,
Iris turned back to Mom and pointed at the pair of boys now scrambling up the side of a tree.
those two belong to my brother, and those two...
She pointed toward an orange-painted pair screeching at the top of their voices as they tore off in the opposite direction.
are my sisters. They'll join us a bit later. My brother and sister and partners, I mean.
That's a lot of boys.
I know, and I know it's unusual for 4 of them to belong to one family. And before any of the Storm's Drift gossip reaches you, no, we did not forget how to do contraceptive spells. We just decided to go against faerie tradition and have a big family.
I like that. A big family. Must be nice.
You come from a small family?
Yes, I'm an only child. Rowan had a sister, but she was killed during Draven's time. Our parents all died in the same attack. And my grandparents, I never knew them. My parents weren't in contact with them anymore. And Rowan's grandparents died before he was born. So, it's just us.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Iris looked devastated, but this story wasn't new to Silver, so she turned her attention back to the boys' game. She hadn't ever known any of the people Mom was talking about, so while she knew Mom got sad about them sometimes, it was difficult to feel any of her own sorrow over their absence.
You've been at quite a few guilds over the years, haven't you?
Yes, Starsfjord was the first one, but we also spent a while at the London Guild and the Bloodwood Guild. Oh, and we were at the Creepy Hollow Guild for a couple of years after the destruction. After Lord Draven's defeat, I mean. We helped with getting everything set up at the new guild there.
Oh, yes. Can you believe it's been 9 years since then? Almost a decade. Crazy how the time flies.
I know. We didn't even have Silver then.
Mom pulled Silver against her side and kissed her cheek.
It feels like a lifetime ago, hey baby bug.
Silver looked up at Mom before offering her some of the half-eaten chocolatey, mallowy mess, but Mom smiled and shook her head.
You finish it, bug.
Then she turned her gaze toward the sky, still golden from the light of the setting sun.
So, Storm's Drift, huh?
Yep. And don't let the drift part fool you. There's nothing slow about the way they come and go. We'll have sunshine 1 minute, and the next thing you know, thunderheads are rolling in and you're seconds away from being soaked. I have no doubt we'll be caught in the midst of one before the evening is over. That's why Lennox is getting the canopy enchantment up now. Takes a bit of time to do one large enough for the whole clearing, but at least this way the boys can keep playing even when the storm hits.
Though I'm sure a storm wouldn't stop them.
It certainly wouldn't.
Silver followed the ball's progress as it flew in zigzag patterns across the clearing, switching between blue and orange every few moments. Licking the remaining chocolate from her fingers, she watched as the oldest Blackburn boy leaped from a tree, just touching the ball with the tips of his fingers before he hit the ground. It switched from orange back to blue, and the 4 Blackburn boys roared and pumped fists in the air.
Have you been to the junior school yet?
Yes, we're very happy with it. I think Silver will enjoy... Oh!
She ducked down as the ball, still blue, struck the edge of the picnic blanket, bounced over the collection of baskets, and came to rest just behind Silver.
Connor, please be careful.
Sorry, Mom.
One of the twins ran toward them, but Silver was already up. She grabbed the ball and raised it above her head. Then she released a jolt of magic, which she was getting better at doing after practicing all afternoon, and sent the ball flying back. Her aim was off, though, and the ball sailed right over Connor and hit the boy behind him on the head. He stumbled backward, tripped over someone else's foot, and landed on his backside. Silver slapped a hand over her mouth. Oops. Wasn't that the boy Mom had said she would be in the same class as when she started school? Ash?
Oh, goodness, I'm so sorry. Silver, that was...
Don't worry about it. Happens all the time. These boys aren't exactly gentle.
With the ball in one hand, Ash ran up to Silver, his other hand rubbing the side of his head.
That hurt.
I'm sorry. It was an accident.
The boy lowered his hand. When he smiled, it reached all the way to his warm, amber eyes.
It was a good throw. Know how to play keep the ball?
Silver shook her head, though she'd guessed the gist of the game by now.
I can show you. Want to be on our team? My cousins are older, so I think we need one more person if we're going to beat them.
Yes.
Okay, come on.
Ash took off across the clearing and Silver raced after him, a grin already in place. From Storm and Shadow by Rachel Morgan continues in Chapter 7.